Today we are going to be talking about all the different theme nights that you can get yourselves involved in as members. Well, that's not the right word. As guests partying on the ship, but it's also going to be a lot of the back talk and behind the scenes action that we get ready to just pump ourselves up for all this junk at night that we usually don't want to do. But you go out guns blazing, proving that we are pumped up and turned on 24/7 because that's the lifestyle. And I think the first one you just got to jump into is 70s. Like, there's a no, you don't start with the top. What's like Sail Away, of course. Then Sail Away.
Sail Away is low hanging
Yes.
fruit. And all three of us were actually in Sail Away together.
Negative Ghost Rider.
You weren't in
I
it?
was
Negative-
able to. I was
that's right.
always
Never
able
heard
to
of
avoid
Sail
it.
Away.
Dang.
Yep.
Well, Jerra was in it with me. Jerra
I
was
was
in it with
definitely
me.
in it, wearing the lovely khaki shorts, the god awful navy blue T-shirt,
That we had tucked in
and
the whole time.
flag you had to wear across your
The
chest.
handkerchief. Well, see, you say the blue shirt, but it wasn't a blue shirt. It was like
Oh, it totally
a
was
90%
navy blue
polyester
shirt.
piece of clothing that you'd put it on, and you're like, "Wow, that shirt's so crisp. Did you like iron it?" Like, no, this thing's just glued in a permanent. Like, how's it? Like, does it breathe? Like, not a single drop. Like,
Oh, it was so.
How could I
thick. It
forget
was so
about the flags? I forgot about the flags, Jerra. Oh,
Well,
man.
you had to hold flags in your hand, but you also had whatever.
it was a kerchief. It
Yeah.
was a kerchief. Like, there was some class
So-
to it. It was a
Sure.
kerchief.
So to paint the scene for
Some
everybody,
sort.
what Sail Away is Sail Away is a party that happens with the DreamWorks cast traditionally in certain areas of the ship, depending on where you were at. We did it in the Aqua Theater. And so we would be on the stage up front when everybody was sitting down as we were sailing out of Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah,
What's
so
up?
this is what that was on the Oasis, but Sail Away is on every ship, especially since they've gotten rid of
Correct.
DreamWorks. Sail Away is everybody's on board, muster drill's all done. They're trying to get everybody on the ship amped up to be like, hey guys, you are now on a cruise ship. There's parties across the whole ship. The big one was always in the Aqua Theater, but they're on the pool deck, they're on the main promenades, they're everywhere, but it's about getting people outside, making big fanfare of getting into the ocean. So it's not just the
What
cast
it used
members.
to be was DreamWorks Sail Away and the Aqua
Yeah, that
Theater
was
on
the big
Oasis
one,
class.
yeah.
But now the majority of our ships have them just on the pool deck, just as a pool party to get the party started, really.
Yeah. So I will just interject to say that
specifically-
I was able to get out of it because I always had other duties, and I would always clean the flow rider.
Had other duties.
Yeah, and I would
That's what I
Air
would say.
quotes involved.
Oh yeah, but I would
Oh.
always be like, I'll go up and clean the flow rider, and I would literally take power washers to the flow rider, or I'm gonna go be on rockwall duty and check the holds. The amount of time that I would just climb up, anchor in, and then just watch Sail Away waving at everybody, being like, "How's that dancing in July heat, baby?" Like,
Bro, that was the most joke job on the planet. Whoever had to go tighten the rock wall. That was
I mean, we took it seriously because we're rock climbers, so we wanted good holds and routes, and we weren't legally allowed to adjust or move holds because there was the third party thing that they would come on and they would make the routes, but we would have to go and be like, somebody just bolted this hold on upside down. So
But
we
what
need
I'm
to go
saying is
and-
you guys cared. The majority of people did not. It just stood there. And we watched them the whole time.
This is
sail
true.
away.
This is true.
I'm not
Yeah.
pointing at. That's what I'm pointing out. At the amount of people
Okay,
that just
yeah,
went down
totally.
there and then went.
Yeah. Like, are you on Rockwell? Like, yeah. Did you even hook up any of the ropes? Like, no.
Yeah,
we just
no.
watched Sail Away and left. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
But Sail Away, from an outside perspective, like, I got the guest view of it, where you guys would go in and do a crazy dance, and guests would always start accumulating. Because when the songs start and the dances start, no one even knows that the dances are going on.
And half the people, mind you, Sail Away is on day one. The very first day when I would say 20% of the whole guest count even knows where the Aqua Theater
Right.
is.
Everybody else was just, like, figuring out things on board. And, like, oh, let's go check out this bar, or they're still just exploring the promenade, or they get stuck in, especially on the big ships, they get stuck in like Central Park and they do other stuff. But the amount of announcements that are like, get to the top deck, get to the back of the ship, get to all these other places. That's what was like the big thing, to be like, go to where the dancing is and start drinking and start partying.
Can we just acknowledge the fact that all of our theme nights, and we'll talk about more in a little bit here, but can we just acknowledge the fact that the sail away dances, the choreography was actually kind of intense?
Oh,
compared
you guys
to
like
the other
way
theme
more
nights
than
and parties
all
you
the
can
other
do.
ones.
You
It's
had
like
to have
6
some
songs
rhythm
of-
to actually be in sail away. That's why a lot of
I would
people
say-
avoided it. Because unlike
I would say with
70s where
very
you
little
can't just
information.
fake your way through it, you have to
Yeah.
have some know-how and be able to count to 8 to be in.
I was gonna
sail
say, it
away.
was like 8 counts, and you're hitting moves like every 2. 70s is like 70s songs, so it's like if you don't know anything, you make up the dance till you hit the YMCA or whatever. But like, yeah, I would look at Sail Away being like, I watched it dozens of times, and I could not do a single move from it because
You would try to do it. We could watch you up there joining in. We would see it.
I mean, you watch enough of
knew
them, and I would
Miley
sit there and
Cyrus,
like,
though. You knew that portion of it. I knew you knew that
I
one.
did. I mean, well, it's like the cha-cha
Rocket.
slide. Yeah, it's like the cha-cha
Yes.
slide. Like, you can't really mess that up when she's telling you all the stuff.
Do you
Okay.
think that you could do the whole pop it, lock it?
Pop it,
now?
lock it, country
If you
fight,
tried.
hip hop, hit, put your arms to the side, jump to the side, stick it, glide, zigzag,
Yes.
shuffle, and diagonal.
Cross the floor,
Yeah,
I can get about
Put your
80%
arm,
of it.
it's hands on your hips.
yeah.
Hips.
And I think it's one of those things where, like, once you
180
hit the
twist,
song,
and then
like,
zigzag, jump,
Zigzag,
glide.
step, slide.
That's it.
Lean
Lean
in,
it back, clap 3 times, shake it out, and yo, show them how together that's how we roll. Do the hoe down, right? Something like that. I think so.
yeah. See, the only thing I had was
Nailed it.
with the other theme nights, the drunken recall that would come in, where I remember, like, I was on, like, a dry spell,
Oh,
and I was like, yo, I'm not drinking, and I went to 70s, I was like, dude, I don't know
No,
any
no,
of these
no, no.
dances.
let's let's just talk about when the YMCA came on at your wedding.
Oh yeah, well we'll wait for that one at 70s. But
But-
so okay, so you got Sail Away, so that's the big party to get it started. That's the first
Yep.
one. That's the
Um,
themed, ready to go.
Another
Parades. We
fun
did.
low-hanging fruit one was Prohibition, and we'll just kind of talk through this because this is a fun insider know-how
No
party.
way.
And is a speakeasy party. I don't know if it's on every ship. I knew it was on the Oasis class for sure.
That's part of the mystery.
Yeah. And the other thing that's cool about it is the only way you can sign up for it is by going to guest services on the ship. You can't sign up for it beforehand.
I really
and
love
it's-
that, like, because we're gonna be crazy famous with this, obviously. So like, people are gonna get on board now and just be like,
Everyone's
"We want to
gonna
go to
be
the
asking.
speakeasy." You guys are gonna be like, "How? How?" Like, well, sorry, we just have like tens of thousands of followers. So it's just, like, everybody's going in now.
But so you then go in, and it's a very small group. I think it's only like 100 or 200 people on the
Yeah, I
whole
mean, they
ship.
keep
It's
it
tiny.
small because of the whole.
Mhm.
I mean, if it was a packed venue, it totally takes away from the idea
Yeah.
of sneaking in. So on Oasis class, there was a place called Dazzles.
Mhm.
They've taken it out of the newer ships. I don't. It wasn't on Wonder anymore. But it was the middle of the deck, and it was facing the back of the ship.
Wonder now.
Okay, so yeah, so there's some
Symphony is
places,
Wonder.
yeah, like
Down
but
before you
music
went into
venue-
Studio B. So if you go down the
Yeah.
stairs, and you walk straight into Studio B, it was on the left before the comedy room.
okay,
It was in Jazz on 4 then.
yeah.
Yes,
So
that's
just
where the
super
prohibition
small.
was. Hmm.
Like if you ever go walk around the ships, things like that, like we said, downstairs the comedy lounge, Jazz on 4. These are very small venues, but we'll get into
And
that in the next one.
So with
But-
that, it was a very small group, and everybody knew about it. So everybody came dressed up. It was always a party, and the crew staff that hosted it always wanted to be there. That was the other fun part about it. Whenever we got invited, I went. I don't know why you didn't go. Like, it was awesome. It was so much fun.
I'm just trying to think of like night lessons or anything, or it's like I'm riding on the wave. You're like, yo, it's speakeasy night, and you're like, dude. Oh, so the other cool thing is that you had to dress up. You couldn't go.
The crew
in a
staff were
button-down
passionate
shirt.
about that.
Yeah, like
Oh, they
even for
totally
guests,
were.
like you can't just go in like a polo and slacks. Like you had to dress up, 20s flapper, like
Mm-hmm.
almost formal style. So that was the other thing. For I think on my point of view, is like, dude, I've been wearing t-shirts and shirts all day. I'm covered in chlorine. I'm not trying to go put on a tuxedo right now, but you had to dress up to get in because this is one of the few venues that had a very strict dress code.
Mm-hmm.
Like you needed to look crisp
Yeah.
because again it added to the ambiance because if you're all dressed up and partying and someone rolls in board shorts and flip-flops, it really detracts from like the whole just
Mm-hmm.
ambiance of we are here, we're blasting back in time, having the speakeasy thing. Just to even get in, not only did you need to look good, you needed to know the secret password. Most of the time, white tiger, good luck trying it. um, get in there, shoot your shot. But yeah, each like that's how cool it was. Each night had different passwords, and then all the drinks were different themed, and everything was to be very just immersive to get into it and do it. See, I knew all about it because I mean, Steve and Paige would come back up and tell us all that. I'm like, man, I should have gone. As I'm like 3 sheets to the wind, sitting in a tank top and board shorts, like probably not even wearing underwear. Like, yeah, I missed it. But
um, yeah, so that was Prohibition. Then let's go through some parades because there are many different types of parades on all the ships. The first one we've already talked about a little bit was DreamWorks that Nagy and I fell in love with each other in. Sorry, Jerra.
it
But
was
Jerra,
just so
you were in
beautiful.
that
It was a
parade as
bromance.
well, weren't you?
I was Gloria's Wrangler.
Yeah, we talked about the Wranglers. We talked about Gloria's little feet.
Yeah,
Yes.
how Gloria has the little nubby
Oh
legs
gosh.
that hit your shins all the time.
Poor Gloria, but also poor me because as a Wrangler, I couldn't move very fast, and Gloria can see so, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, her vision was so impaired, and she could only see a little tiny bit. So I would always had to have my paddle down on the floor, and that I could be more than
I want to give a shout
2 feet
out
away from
to
Gloria.
Vinny, who was Gloria for the most part while we were on the ship, who's like crazy famous now as a is it Vinny? Who's the feminine English guy?
I have no idea. Oh,
Yeah, you know.
that's oh, that Vinny. Okay,
We'll have
yeah,
to tag him later,
yeah,
but
Vinny
anyway,
Thomas.
yeah. So he's like
He used
crazy
to be a
famous
youth staff
on, and
on
he was a
board.
youth staff, and he was my favorite because he would get in there
I
and
think I
just
Oh
like
know
my
the
him.
gosh.
The English
Yeah,
persona of just
English
I'm doing this
blonde
because
youth staff.
I need to. But man, was he just like cussing up a storm, complaining the whole time. Then the doors open and he was just dancing and shaking and everything. And you're like, dude,
I
Gloria's
remember.
tearing it up. And the second you pull off his costume, he's just like, this is a fucking nightmare. I can't believe I'm doing this again. And I was just like, oh man, like
Yes,
just
that is Vinny.
that is the
That's
to a
right.
T of
Oh
just
man,
beautiful things.
that reminds me of just like all the Eastern Europeans that got slapped in the big costumes, like Shrek and the Vikings
How
too.
to Train Your
But
Dragon.
Those
the
were
Yeah.
Vikings, but I
always
think
those are
no. So I
always
think what was
sports staff guys. Those are
what was
always
Mhm.
every
for
time.
those because they were big. But I remember seeing
Just
Vlad.
heavy.
Remember 6'7" Vlad, but he was to be in this stupid jumpsuit slash parachute suit with literally like a '90s foam bicycle helmet with like a crappy like stretchy
Oh
cover with
yeah.
like danglies, and he's sitting on a bicycle that's pretty much too big for a 10-year-old, and then they would have to bike around. So when you're in the costume, you can like, especially like a Glory or
I
even like,
forgot about the biker
yeah,
gang.
like all the costumes, you could sit and you're just sweating and cussing and no one can hear you. But when you're on a bicycle and they can see your face, all these Eastern Europeans who are riding these bikes, like BMX bikes, around the promenade, have to put on this happy face. And like, you could get written up for being like, hey, Nagy, you were too gloom biking around the parade. Like, because you can't bike around like, man, this is bullshit. Like, you're dancing and high fiving kids and stuff. Like, that to me was way better than a sports app being stuck in a costume, and they would literally argue with each other. they'd be done like, oh, I'm sweating bullets, and the people on the bike would be like, I'm on a bike, like, look at this, what is this crap I'm wearing? Like, that to me was the good
So
ones.
on the Harmony, I'll see if I can find this parade video somewhere, but you can look it up. We used to have to be cops on bikes. So we wore a whole police outfit, and then we had little helmets on with like little spinny lights. It was absolutely
Right.
ridiculous. And all the uniforms were way too small. So like they came about
Oh
this
yeah.
small, like that far on us. And you can believe that on me being tiny.
Right.
And we had to ride the little bikes through beforehand and push people back. So I had my little whistle and I would just.
Yep.
Steve and I had the best time just like pushing people back, being jerk cops, but like funny jerk cops, pushing
Oh, yeah.
people back, and
Like
then
over the top kind of.
Oh, yeah.
Was that DreamWorks or was that
that was not
post
DreamWorks.
when we changed our
Yeah,
So we changed our parade from DreamWorks parade to what we now call Anchors Away.
Yeah.
Right?
So when
I don't
DreamWorks
remember what it
contract
was.
ended, yeah, the contract
Anchors Away is
ended
our
after
standard.
Trolls. Trolls and How to Train Your
Yep.
Dragon 2 came out, and those were like the last. Like,
Yeah.
there was a dragon costume, but the cast member couldn't be in the dragon costume for like more than 12 minutes. Like, that was a strict thing in their contract because they were hunched over on like stilts and things, and they were like, you only put this on 1 minute before you go out. You walk across a promenade as fast as you can, and then you have to take it off. And it was like the amount of effort and the cost. They were like, all right, DreamWorks isn't really doing it for us. And then it switched to the Anchors Away, and we fell in love with that on Symphony because we just got to ride on mopeds. Segway, excuse me. So
yeah.
everybody's
So similar
doing these.
concept. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're doing these crazy choreographed dances, running
Yep.
all over the place for like 14, 16 minutes straight. And they're just like pouring sweat, and we're just on Segways, like, we're expending no energy. Like, this is the best.
Oh, we had to do the dances with them. So the way ours worked was the different people who came in were different people that represented different holidays. So St. Patty's Day, or Valentine's Day, or Halloween, or whatever, and they had different dances. And I learned a bunch of the dances because I loved that. Like, I lived for that
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. No, I mean,
And
we were some of the
by
few
the
people
way,
that loved it.
want it noted, I got a WoW card for Parade one time from a production manager. He came down and he was like, dude, I have never seen anybody go so hard during Parade. You're welcome. And
Yeah.
now, honestly,
That's
it got
awesome.
me zero cred with all the sports staff. I just got made fun of, but I loved every second of it.
An interjection is a WoW
and
card
so-
is
Oh, yeah,
an,
go ahead.
an acknowledgement from staff, like superiors to crew members, being like, "Hey, you were going above and beyond duty." And a lot of times it was like free internet, like free coffee. I think a big
a
one
meal
would be
at like free Windjammer or something like that.
yeah,
It was
like you
a
could get
lot
a
of
win, like
yeah.
just like kind of little small things. Like I will say, Royal did an amazing job, like boosting morale around the ship because
They did a
the Pirates'
phenomenal
code
job.
was always you got to keep him with grog. Royals like, well, we can't always liquor you guys up, but here's other incentives to do stuff.
Yeah.
The other last one was there was a wheel in our office, and the WoW card would be
Wheel
a
of
spin,
Wow.
the wheel of WoW. And if you got it, you
Yeah.
could spin the wheel, and it would land on like sometimes that one would be like free chops dinner, couple hours of internet. That was like the big prize one kind of thing. But
I'll never
back to
forget
parade.
that parade because we would go out beforehand and clear everybody out, and then we would also like let everybody keep them back while all the parade was exiting. And then there was always one crew staff, and they always need the attention more than everybody else. That would come out as Baby New Year. And he was like, man, let's stay out here and take pictures. And we're like, bud, we've been out here for 25 minutes. No.
Yeah.
We're going, but come on, man. They want to see Baby New Year. Yeah, not today, though. Come on.
Yeah.
Nah.
But so to your point on that one, the people that are covered in sweat, I know they're. I know
Oh yeah,
they're
like
feeling
you're
it.
like I'm
We
getting
were
out of here as
wrecked.
fast as possible
We were
because you
wrecked.
finish parade, then you have to go downstairs and you have like
Get ready for
15
doors
minutes
or
to
whatever.
change and then get back to your. Well, I mean, parade was in the middle of the day, so it's like back to the sports deck to go host ping pong, or
Mhm.
back to youth staff to jump into a room,
And good luck
I
telling
will
your
say
boss you're late because of parade.
Yeah. And then I think the last thing I'll say is to the guests, when we're trying to like get you out of the way, get out of the damn way.
Just play the
Like,
game.
play the game. Like, you're there. We're gonna give you a show. You like, again, the front was always for the kids. And if you want to get a good picture in the front row, sit down. The adults that would push in and they're like standing, like those are the ones you get up to. You'd be like, you sit down. And like that's when they're like, what do you mean, like sit down, get out of the way, like. So just be a guy. Remember, we've taught the reoccurring theme is don't be a dick. Just don't be a dick.
That's fair. That's fair to ask.
So that was most of
So-
parade. Go ahead, Jer.
So I was gonna say, parade is hosted in the promenade.
Mm-hmm.
What else is hosted in the promenade are many of our other themed parties. You guys ever do? And we can talk about 70s because that's the number one theme party. But did you ever do 90s or 80s?
I did not do 90s. I didn't sign up for that one. It did not have my heart as much as 70s did.
It just
While I was there,
doesn't.
I was like,
Like,
oh,
you have to wear
I can do it.
clothes
Just have to
and
change with
learn
the
dances.
times,
No,
right?
you had to wear clothes. You couldn't be touched. It was
Yeah. It was more about the dance. That was more about the show. 70s was
Right.
more immersive. We did 80s
70s was
on-
about the entertainment.
Yeah, it was about the
Yeah.
showmanship. So
It
we
was
did
about
80s
the charisma.
on Voyager when we did the fill. We did it on Voyager, and that's where you had to learn, and that's where you do like Footloose. And Footloose
Mhm.
is 3 minutes of like 12 moves, but
Over and over and
constant
over.
calisthenics of jumping and the kicking Footloose. You know, then you do. We didn't do Never Gonna Give You Up, but what was the other one? I can't remember right now. But yeah, like the few dances I know that when the songs come on, that you're like, all right, yeah, this is a blast back. Oh, this is why 80s is why I hate Bon Jovi. I have sung "Living on a Prayer"
Oh.
every week for years. And when it comes on in like every bar, wherever you are in social like circles now, it starts blaring it, and I just sit down and I just like am broken. And people are like, "Do you not like this song?" It's like, dude, have you ever listened to a song too much? Yeah, now amplify that. I've had to sing this song this much for every week for years. So yeah, there's some songs that just Journey. I've never liked Journey, and I had to blare them. Like, nah, I'm over it.
There was one, I don't remember what it was called, on the anthem that I did as well. It was like a 60s show. There was a disco ball. We danced as the Jackson 5. It was in the rock theater in the anthem. I don't remember what the show was called. And I looked on YouTube. I couldn't find it for the life of me, but we were dancing in like high heels
That's part
and
of Anthem Rocks.
did the
was
Jackson
it?
5. No, it wasn't Anthem Rocks because that was a different show.
That was a big one, yeah. So the
So
one I did on
couldn't
Ovation.
tell you, but they
well,
loved
I
it.
did. Where Did I Sing is the Jersey Boys.
Ovation Rocks.
That's Ovation Rocks, okay.
Yeah.
So that one was a blast and a half. Of Ovation Rocks is on the Ovation of the Seas, and each one has their own. So like we were just talking about Anthem Rocks, Ovation Rocks. Don't feel like they have a Spectrum Rocks, but I feel like it's just something I don't know about, and maybe it's just not in the Asian market. But yeah, they were the huge parties in the back, and that one was cool because it went almost through the musical eras.
Mhm.
So we would go out and dance as the Jersey Boys, and I fell in love with that one.
Mhm.
And then,
It was a really fun one. Hosted in the 270 Lounge.
yeah, that's another
Which-
good thing to note. Yeah,
Gets its name from, do you know why it's called the 270 Lounge?
Because you can see 270 degrees out the back window.
Yes, you can.
which was very innovative as cruise ships go for us. It's like, oh my god, what is it? Yeah. So
yeah.
that one would go through the times, and I loved that one. And then I would go out and sing the Jersey Boys,
Mhm.
and then run downstairs, and they would keep going through the eras, sing a couple more ballads, and then we would go out as 70s and then at the end we would go out and do. Oh no, that wasn't 70s. It was
70s was totally
yeah.
different.
It would go out and we would do a strip show, and that one was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Because it's the let me take off your
Baby, take off your
yeah
hat.
yeah.
Oh.
You can leave your hat on. You can leave your hat on.
gonna
I
have to
want
look
to
this
say.
one up.
That's right.
I'm gonna have to look
Yeah.
this one up.
And so it's. I feel like I want to say it was like Tom Jones, and if it's not, it's gonna be burning my soul because he's just hitting the notes. But
Mhm.
we do. It's like three of us, and the funniest thing was, we do a strip show, and he's like, "It's you can leave your hat on." So while he's singing the song, we're slow dancing, taking off. Like you can take off your jacket, you can take off your tie. We'd kick off our shoes, but now here's the kicker: everybody had tearaway pants. Now,
Mhm.
Nagy's a little bit what you would call curvaceous. So I never fit in the tearaway clothing.
Did
So
you always
I
have
had
them
to.
like pre-popped?
No, I didn't fit in them.
He had
So
to wear
I had to
his
wear my
own
dress
pants.
pants. So everybody would rip their pants off, and I had to pants myself and kick them as fast as I could. And I got
That's awesome.
extremely efficient at kicking them. The only problem was sometimes they would like fly into the crowd and someone like grabs them and I would have to run out in my underwear after the song because it ends with almost like a full Monty, like we're naked. We like right when we go into our underwear, the song ends. But I would have to jump into the crowd and be like, "Hey, I really need those pants back because they're
Every week?
expensive, and I need." Well, only if I was like tipsy enough to kick them into the crowd. Like I got good at
What-
ripping them off and then started to kick them back. But the first couple, like you rip them off and you fling your leg forward and they'd shoot into the crowd. And I was like, "Oh my god, those are my actual dress slacks and formal nights tomorrow. Like I need those back." And you find like a kid holding your pants. You're like, "Hey, I'm in my underwear in the middle of the dance floor. I'm really sorry. I need my pants back." And people are like trying to grab you, and I'm like covered in sweat. Like, just give me my pants. I need to get backstage. Like,
Oh man. Um and then another great show that not everybody showed up to, which I know all three of us were in, was in the Flow show. That was another great party that
yeah,
everybody should have swung by.
Oh,
Um
absolutely.
they don't
what
do them anymore.
I
Not many
know. I
teams
was looking
do. I
on
It's a
think
bummer.
some.
so
I think
with
some
that,
do.
I was thinking about it and trying to run down. So the Flow show for everybody is a it used to be, I'd say, about what, 15, 20 minutes, somewhere in that range of us just kind of doing tricks to songs on the flowrider. And now,
That is such an undersell. I'm
hold
gonna
on, I'm
boost
getting
you
through
up
it.
a
I'm
bit.
getting through it. I'm getting
Okay,
through
okay,
it.
okay.
Now, with that being said, there were a lot of choreography that was put with it, and then a lot of it depended on the group that was there too. Because the people that actually cared about the choreography and were good enough to do it would make a show very enjoyable.
Yeah.
And then there were other ones where they just kind of did it and it wasn't as much fun. But with that being said, I don't know if I ever rode in your guys' show. I think I just hosted
No,
yours.
we.
I think
yeah,
I was
we-
just
yeah.
DJ Fish Sticks the whole time.
Oh yeah, baby. So again, you're on the flow rider. It's the last day of the cruise. People are riding the flow rider all day, and then the last time you can ride the flow rider, it closes and then it ends with the flow show. And the flow show was a competition of everybody who could ride on the flow rider. They go out and they do all the things they learned or
Yes.
all the tricks they could do, and the um, spectators would all vote on who won, and
Mhm.
you'd have people that knew how to ride. It would do crazy tricks, but half the time they would just go really big to let the child or whatever who had just barely learned to ride win, and you let them. And then the winner gets to sign the board, and then after that we go, hey guys, stick around because now we're gonna do all the tricks and things that you are never allowed to even attempt. And that's when we're doing flips and barrel rolls and tricks and jumping on each other and doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
And Nagy and I had a pretty epic.
You two had
duet
a
that
pretty
we would
fun
do.
one.
We did. We would do a lot of acro yoga with it. I still
Mhm.
think my favorite was one of the big tricks you do is you run off the top of the wave, kick off the top like a 1.5 foot tall siding, and you launch yourself 6, 8 feet in the air and come down on the wave. In my very first flow show,
Landing
I
on what?
jumped.
Your butt, your feet? What are you talking? Where are you landing
Usually,
on?
you're
What
landing
position?
on your butt onto a boogie board.
Okay.
And
Yes.
my very first flow show, I didn't jump up onto the ledge. I jumped at it. So I completely slid over it and ate shit off the wave, and then had to collect myself the boogie board and like head dive onto the wave, then get onto the board. And Louis looks over at me and goes, "What the fuck was that?" And I was like, "I don't know. Let's keep going because we need to do 360s."
Oh man, we've all had some biffs. I actually found one of my videos on the line the other day, and it's one me biffing a very similar trick. We
Yeah.
stood we stood on that top rail instead of running and jumping. You know that very top kind of corner, and then you
Yeah,
jump
so that's the one that
into
we
on
would
the
run and jump
yeah.
onto, and I was like, "Yo, if we could just stand up here, that's a lot
And
easier." But
so that same idea, I completely biffed it. One of my favorites that Sibo and I did, and this was only 50-50. I could never get it any better than that. Was Sibo threw a boogie board. He was on his belly, right? And so he's riding on the wave, and then he throws the boogie board, he slides back, and then I jump over the top of him onto the boogie board.
nice.
And that was a fun one, but that was a hard one to get right. I tried doing it with a front flip once, and I was like, no, not again.
See, I got really good at those. Just from we would go play around.
Yeah.
So for the watchers, if you ever go try the flowrider, you are never allowed to have a separation between you and the board. So you can never be in the contact with just the water.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to either be on your belly, your butt, your knees, your back, kneeling, anything like that. That's all you can do. We were able to throw the boards, stand up on the wave, do front flips, things like that. So
We get away with murder.
Yeah.
And then at the end, we always built the pyramid. That was always a good closer.
When those crashed, that was the like when you got it, it was amazing. But when it crumbled, you're just laughing under a pile of bodies, half drowning, being like, "Well, better luck next week, guys."
This is fine. This is fine.
I know Jerra can attest to this one. Luckily, being smaller people, we always got stuck at the top. So it was just kind of like crumbling, dodging elbows and knees on the way down.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
see, I would just
jump
fall.
as far as you could from the whole pile of people that you're about to barrel into.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And Space Jam always had to be a song.
Oh, yeah.
In the playlist.
We remade it. So I will interject and boost you because when you guys did the crew flow show, this was on the Oasis.
Oh
So
my God.
usually
that night was wild. Okay, yeah.
Best
So,
show.
like at the beginning of the play, some music kind of starts, and then the cast, they are sneaking around the theater, like pawing people. They're being cats in the audience, and then they all go up on stage and start. And so the Aqua show started with the cats music, and like all the crew watching are just like, okay, what's going on here? And then just sports apps start popping out of everywhere, and like the nooks and crannies doing it. You're like, yeah, get it. And you guys were fully decked out. And I was like, oh, that's cool. They did the face paint because we were still used to that. So I was like, I could totally face paint their faces like that. But then by like your third wipeout / trick, that makeup didn't move a bit, like not a single smudge. And I was like, oh, that's the legit makeup that they've got going on. And then you guys recreated like cats mixed in with a bunch of tricks. You guys did the water show, and there was one scene where he is in a like rubber ducky thing, and a shark comes around, and you guys did that. Like you guys had it was so perfectly choreographed.
It was the best parody of
all and I was like,
the different
that
shows on
could have
board.
been an actual show. If you're like, hey guys, if you didn't catch the shows on the cruise, go check out the Flow show where they're doing like a skit style like wrap up of what it was out. So what we did is so for the.
Let me back this up just a little bit. I got you. So for this one, we had taken all the music from the shows on the ship. We took the Cats music. We took the
Aqua Theater.
Whatever that show was called. I was trying to think of the name. We took their music, and then we took the other music from the shows. And we had face painters that were on the ship at the time because the cast was transferring over. and they were partying with us. So we convinced them. We were like, "Hey, do you want to do our makeup for this show?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." So we had professional makeup artists do us like
Yeah.
cats for this show.
And
Go
the
ahead,
cat's
take over.
makeup, yeah, so the cat's makeup was waterproof. So they come out, and if anybody's ever seen Cats, give it a shot. Read up on it beforehand because it is so confusing. If you're like, yeah, I'll just go in and see it, you have no idea what's going on. I had to see it like 4 times, and at that point, I was like, I'm not watching another 2.5 hour play. But give it the shot on that. That's my little plug for Cats. Like, read up on the main story behind the scenes because when he wrote it, he's like, yeah, everybody will figure this out. No, you won't. So
People that were there. And the best part was exactly what you're saying is Cat's already a wild story. So when you had the cast of Cats noticing that we were picking up on like the subtleties of
the
the show,
small cues
were,
and the little
because
things.
I remember
Yeah.
specifically there's that balcony that, or like kind of that awning over the top of the stage there on the flowrider where everybody's sitting over the
Yep.
Right.
bleachers.
The
And I
stands,
climbed
yeah.
over the top of that. And I was hanging off of the top of that, and I was like scratching people's heads and stuff. They thought it was
Yeah.
awesome. Oh, that was so fun. That was good. I
That was
completely
such a good
forgot.
show.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
so that's
it
like
just worked
buried in
out.
some cast member's hard drive. That like
That's buried
there's
in
the
some.
float, and like they would take deep digging. I mean,
Yeah.
some of our thousands of followers could probably find those guys. So
I
get the word out. And find
I
that
learned
video.
all the words to Rum Tum Tugger for that one.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and Mr. Mistopheles. Oh,
Who did? I mean, those
the
are the only good
greatest
ones.
magicians have something to learn from Mr. Mistopheles' conjuring
Yeah,
terms.
too deep, but yeah, I respect it.
And they
So
all
dramatic, I
sang.
love it.
Bro, we got into it. But yeah, so
Oh, yeah.
oh man. All right. What other like kind of sidebar parties, and then we'll get into our best '70s stories because those
Some
will
of the
go
other
for a while.
small parties that we've done, or at least that are hosted on board, are the white and the red parties.
Ooh,
Yeah,
go on
so
this.
those ones were. Sorry, baby duty calls.
Got it.
So the white and red were smaller. They were kind of like a speak easier to just
Mhm.
use that kind of pun of they you had to dress in white, you had to dress in all red, but they were like boosted up and then they would serve the special cocktails. And I remember a lot of the sports staff would have to go and they'd be in like almost like morph suits in the colors and do stuff. Um, Things like that. So we'd, you never went to those
Ooh.
as like you never went to those
Mhm.
as a crew member. You went to those as a like worker. You had to work those. Like
Yeah.
you and I couldn't be like, hey, let's go hit up the red party, or the white party.
I
Like,
did
the white party.
the red party on the Harmony, and I used to have to wear this giant red spaceman suit. I'll never forget it because it was like 11 p.m. We had to go up
Yeah.
onto the promenade, and we had to walk across the promenade as spacemen, and we would just
Oh, it's brutal.
trying to get people to follow us, and we would pretend to be spacemen. And oh man, that was.
See,
and then
those
we would
ones
go
are
back.
like
I remember that.
those.
Yeah.
Those ones are just kind of the worst because like all the other ones, people were already congregating. They would even time it up so like a show would end, and as people are leaving, they start passing by a venue that's starting a party. The ones where, like you
Mhm.
said, you have to walk across a thing. You're like, yeah, just get as many people to follow you, and you're like, bro, half these people don't even know I'm a crew member. They just think I'm a weird dude. Like, they're like, hey, come party, man. Like,
Because you're not
nah,
wearing
like,
a name tag in those costumes. But I
no.
will say the other fun thing is like at those parties, they were like designated as like 20 up, 21 and up parties. So there were always people raging. I remember
Yeah.
being in that spaceman costume like during spring break, and everybody's trying to dance with you, and you're just in this spaceman costume like just having the time of your life. And nobody has any clue who you are because you got that giant helmet, it's fogged over.
Yeah.
Like,
On a creepy note, they would put females in like a morph suit, like skin tight thing, and they
Mhm.
would dance in kind of like a windy fan tunnel. And one girl that was a sports staff um, said that a guy leaned in and was like, I know that's you. I'd recognize that ass anywhere. And she threw up one of the signals that they'll do is like an X. If something's wrong or whatever, they stop to show me like the cables are wrong, some like the floor's not right, whatever. And she threw that up and was escorted off and was like almost in tears. So back to, hey, don't be a dick or creepy on cruise ships. It's not flattering. Like, just enjoy the show and then maybe tell them the next day, like, hey, great job dancing the other night, but yeah, don't be fucking weird. Don't be a dick. But on that note, almost inversely, is we're going into 70s because it was the pinnacle of like, if you say what do you miss about ships, I will say like I miss 70s because you finish a hard day's work, you're in the sun, you're sweating, you're hydrating as much as you can, your body's been flushed like 4 times, and that's by like lunch, and then you go hit the afternoon heat, and you get back and you're wrecked. And like when you said like, oh yeah, we just start the red party or the space party at like 11, like usually the next day was another sea day or something, and you have to be up at like 8, so you're partying from like 11 till like midnight trying to be engaged, and then you have to go
1
back.
a.m., dude.
Yeah,
like
and then you have to
1
shower,
a.m.
and then you're getting up at 7:30, 7 o'clock to have breakfast and open the next venue by like 8:39 the next day. But 70s was you're like, dude, no matter what happens today, it's 70s tonight. So again, the timing of for the guests is you'd go to a show and they'd usually have a couple shows like the Aqua Theater and or whatever the different shows, and then the main theater show would usually end at like 10:30, and as people are milling about trying to figure out what's next to do, that's when the promenade starts blasting 70s style music. That's when cruise staff start going out doing things, and it starts off with crew in just like floofy afros, disco, glasses, things like that, and it goes from there. But Quintan, so before we get out, all the crew members are like getting dressed up together and pre-gaming together. This was like the one time where all superiors would just kind of turn a blind eye to like, hey, you can go have a couple beers, but don't do anything dumb. But we're like, when we walk by the crew bar and it's packed with people in 70s gear, we're just gonna keep walking. And yeah, go ahead.
So, with that, 70s would start. We would start drinking about an hour and a half beforehand, depending on.
You never wanted to do too early. You wanted to like kick in.
You wanted to hit right around as things are going. So we would.
Because if you were sloppy beforehand, it was just a nightmare.
Yeah, we had a buddy system and we took care of each other too. But the other part that you're saying is even the crew members that are getting ready, is there are crew members that are not dancing with us that are always getting ready to come out and dance at 70s. Right. That's how much it was such a thing every week. And people would just, name tag would disappear and they would fall somewhere in the crowd and just have a great time. And then, and so like it was a community
it brought us
thing.
all together.
It was like
more. That was
the performers, people were ready to watch and get things amped, and they were kind of like plugs in the crowd too. But so we're all getting a little tipsy, we're getting ready, and the guys start in these floofy shirts and afros. We would and it would actually start off with some singers from like featured singers, and they would sing like 2 or 3 songs, and everybody's amped out on the center of the promenade. Then the cruise director comes out and announces everything that's happening. We would come out in that initial dredge. On this particular class of ship. Yep. On the Oasis class of ship, a bridge came out, the same bridge that we almost fell off of many, many times.
A couple times, yeah.
They would come out to the center and they would start getting everybody riled up. And as you and Jerra were both saying, the 2 parties were coming out at the same time, so everybody's walking in the middle. We come out, the first song is always Brick House. So she's a brick house. Mighty. Just letting it all hang out. Yeah. And then after that, it would go into Saturday Night Fever. Dance feeling nights we are. We don't got
dude, you gotta do John Travolta. Oh, you don't remember it?
Well, I
I'm
don't
not
remember
gonna
the.
sing it here.
No, I don't
I've
remember
got
the
it.
words. But if yeah, but if we've got it going, then the guys would duck away from up top. You would have people down on the bottom. The guys would tuck away up top.
At Roller Coaster of Love, we
But
would dip out.
now, this is where things are starting to change. A lot of people don't really notice the guys are gone. We get into our village people costumes. So I was everything but the goddamn sailor. I never got to be the sailor. I was everything but
Usually,
that.
the sailor was reserved for, I would say, like activities manager, cruise director, because it wasn't a huge wardrobe change. Like they could go out, like it was
Mhm.
just like the white shirt, white hat, like simple.
And white
We had
pants,
to get
so
into
they could
like
just put whatever top over it.
costumes. Yeah.
Yeah,
And like, or a lot of the female ones would have the outfit on underneath, and they could take off the big fluffy disco shirt and just take off the
that's
shirt.
true. So to
Like
add
that
this
was more of
in,
a
it was always men that were in the YMCA, except for when there was a female cruise director or assistant or activities manager.
activities manager.
They would be in the village people with us, and which would always be fun, especially if
Yeah.
you've got like one chick dressed up in the sailor, and then you've got the leather man next to her in the Indian, and we're just having a time. Like
Yeah.
we're just, but so we would go back and we'd have about five. We'd have a decent amount of time. I'd say
You
about
had
5 to 7
it was
minutes.
a song and a half. So we would go off. I always
So
know
about
because we
five
would
minutes.
like
Yeah.
leave with Roller Coaster of Love, and that was the thing. Is like it was a lot of movement to get out,
Hmm.
and then they would sing one more, which Jerra would have to tell us what it was.
I never knew what it was, but in this time, we're normally tucked away in like a crew area where a stairwell
It's a
by
crew
an
elevator. It's the elevator
There's
stairs.
two people that there's a group of them that are upstairs and there's a group of them downstairs. We're generally having a few more drinks during this time frame, and there's a lot of baby oil being passed around. There's
There's the baby oil. I was always passing on the baby oil because I just had a natural sheen. Again, the curvaceous. This is the one benefit of being plus size, is that it's like I just got the natural sheen. But
Yeah.
on top of that, it's drinks, baby oil, and push-ups.
Lots of
And
push-ups.
you are just
Lots of push-ups.
you're getting ready because Leatherman had like jacket and chaps. I was the
And
construction
hat.
worker
He had the hat.
and hat. I was a construction worker, so I would have to rip off my disco pants, put on jorts, and then only had to throw on a vest and the tool belt and the
Mhm.
hat. When I was the native, that was the hardest one
Because
because
you
you
had
have
to
to
put the
put on
loincloth.
like the leather boots, you had to put on the loincloth, and then you have to put on the headdress,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, all the entire time you're hidden with sunglasses, so you needed those. But then, like you get ready as fast as you can, and then you're just chugging the rest of your drinks, and then you are only cranking out as many push-ups as you can to get a pump.
And if you have timed your night perfectly, your alcohol is about to hit you in 1 minute and 37 seconds.
Yo, it is like
Yeah,
that last
because-
drink is to get you through
Oh.
the fourth song after that. But like you
Now-
are timing it.
And then the moment you hear it, the doors kick open and we come marching out like we are kings of the court, baby.
Oh
And
yeah.
everyone is losing their minds. We've got like little rings at the time that are lighting
The
up.
glow that can build up. So you're walking out, you're kind of flexing, and then you start doing the curls, and everybody starts doing the curls, and you're like looking around your point, and you try and find like the hot chick or the super old dude. You pull off a ring and you chuck it. Yeah, you're getting everybody amped up, and then it starts with the side claps, and that's when the song hits. Yeah. So I will interject and say that I loved it on quantum class, because when you did it, you didn't walk out like Oasis class. You didn't walk out onto the thing, or like Voyager classes. That you didn't walk out onto the bridge. On the quantum class, they had the stage lowered and it raised up. So like you literally got pumped up with the stage, and then you just like pop out and you're just.
That's wild. So we do that. Then after we do in the Navy, we would go right into the YMCA, and this is This is when everybody's losing their minds because they all know the YMCA. We are doing our
Everybody knows the
hardest
YMCA.
renditions of it. We're throwing hips out off of everything. You're trying to get big. You're trying to suck in the whole room to buy in on what you're doing, and they are loving it. And dude,
This is where we got
nothing's.
our ego boost.
This is where we got our ego boost, but
This was the ego
nothing,
fuel for the cruise.
nothing is going to replicate standing in front of, I'd say, roughly 1,500 to 2,000 people going YMCA,
Yeah.
and they all doing it right back to you. Oh,
Yeah.
and then note, here's one thing I do always want to note is actually specifically Amanda pointed this out to me one time was she goes, you have to do your C's this way because it's opposite of the audience. So you would always
So you're
know
the
which,
mirror.
you would do it the way they have to do their C.
Yeah.
And so you would always realize which dude to do didn't know to do that because they would always
Right.
do their C's backwards.
I mean, I think to rewind a
You
little
did
bit
it. You were good on it. You never had
I mean,
problems.
yeah, I'm a good follower on that one because again, you just like half the time you're not sure and you're like, okay, wait, do I do
and
it
you're
this way or that
just
way?
going. You're just
Yeah.
feeling out the moment, right? Like
Yeah.
there's so many times we've been a little too drunk and missed a
So
few of those dances.
oh, a bunch of the choreography. So my favorite, I was gonna say, you got to rewind because in the Navy had like the YMCA again. You are walked through this song, but in the Navy we had choreographed things and we were supposed to throw up our arms like ship flags in different directions. So it's like, and it was supposed to go like 1 2 1 2 1 2. So the guy in the front goes up and left, the guy behind him goes up and right, and then it just mirrors back. But you could always tell the guys that didn't know because on one of them, like half of us are going like this in the front, or like all of us are going to the left, and then on the next one it's scattered, and then on the other one we're all up and some are down, and you're like, we'll get it next week. Like, and sometimes the CD be like, you guys need to learn your choreography, and you're like, yeah, well the guy in front of me went right, so I went left, and it's like, yeah, but then the 3 people behind you went left, and the 3 people in front of you went right. Like, it's whatever. And then the
following
YMCA
after
would
that.
end was for the hustle so that we could help lead the crowd and everybody could follow along. And then there was Get Down on It. And
Which
with Get Down on
always
It,
won
that
on
was our
everybody.
excuse for grinding on the oldest person you could find.
Now we grinded
Male.
on anything. We grinded on anything. Like if it was a pizza slice dog, we were getting it from Sorrento's. We grinded on anything.
I mean,
you know that.
I preferred the old women, but yeah, you would like. It's funny because like attractive women are trying to congregate to you, but for me personally, they would come up, grab me, and you'd see them go, "Ugh." Like, yeah, that's all sweat love. I'm gonna go find the old lady who can like barely like get out of her wheelchair to touch me, or you try and find the biggest, muscliest Chad dude, and you are just like twerking in front of him, just making him uncomfortable. And when he danced back, that's when you're like, you're a good man.
But if
I just
he
didn't-
avoided it,
yeah.
you're like, oh, come on, buddy. You're just feeding it.
Yeah.
You're just
Oh,
feeding me,
boy,
Papa.
I am gonna follow you into the bathroom, right? Yeah. No, so you're just going out. You just get to tear it up and dance and just have an amazing time. And then Love Train hit, and that's when usually it was the native because you could see the headdress. Other times it was some crew staff trying to pull seniority rank, being like, "No, I'm the front of the train," and they would lead it, and then all of us are dispersed to grab people to then make everybody follow to get to Love Train, and that's when you circle everybody back to the dance floor, circle them around, and that's when it kind of hits
Now,
the finals.
If you were in charge of the Love Train, because it kind of depended on who it was, like it varied from week to week. But if you were in charge of the Love Train, you always got bonus points if you led with a wheelchair. You have to find a
True.
wheelchair
Got
to
it.
drive that bus.
Yep.
If you are not pushing somebody along, you failed your job, or you didn't
Yeah.
look hard enough. You know,
Yeah.
that was a pure job for the person that was always in front. And then after that, it's just loading people in. You're like just jamming it up
Yeah,
because
like
after that,
and the cool thing is you're dancing, you grab people from the front,
hmm
or you say get behind me, and like again we're dispersed enough. If you had the good crew, like I wouldn't even be near you. I'm dancing for you for like get down on it, but then when we know that song's wrapping up, I'm getting away from you so
hmm
that I can either, or I'm like you start and I'm feeding people behind you, just like traffic warden style, like go 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 go, and you're like the best was when you'd make a whole train, but the best, the absolute best, and it happened all the time on quantum class was the dance floor wasn't big enough. And so the guy in the front would loop back and just like snake on your old phone, it would have nowhere to go, and then it would just like stop, and you'd see people in the back like still trying to go, and then you just see this like ant circle of death just like going around the dance floor, and you're like, oh, that ended way too quick, and now they're just gonna mingle until the next song, or if it worked out, it would end and then blast into the last song, and
yeah,
then
then it would kick
that's
in.
usually when we stole pizza.
Yeah, so we would leave. No, we had one more song because I would always dance up on the balcony for Boogie Wonderland, and then
Okay.
we would peace out. That's when a good time is to steal pizza. Another good time is to run. They would come bring people back out for a big thank you and applause and yada yada yada. But
Yeah.
that was never the fun part. That was after that
I
the
mean,
energy was gone. The
we
energy.
got into a bit like for I would say probably 6 7 weeks straight. We would end it with all of the macho men staying out, and we'd stand by the stage that they would erect in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody wanted to take pictures, so we would take
Yep.
pictures with everybody, and you kind of want to stay there long enough so everybody can get their pictures, and then when the crowd was dying down, that's when we would go to Sorrento's and say who
Mm-hmm.
wants more pictures, but actually what you're doing is just like, do you want a picture? Yeah, I'll take a pepperoni and combo slice. Yeah, and yeah, let's take a picture, and then you're just stuffing down pizza, and then
It's
getting
fun.
pictures, and then running away. Yeah,
Oh,
and
and
we
then
had one guy who, sorry to interrupt, we had one guy who started coming onto the stage with us towards the end like that, and he would stack Foster's cans on his head. And it was this bald guy, and he would do like a suction trick, and he would get, and this was like probably during after after the love train, he would do that, and he would stack them up, and he could get like 4 or 5, and he would just sit there, and he was like this bigger guy, and so he like really wouldn't move, but he would dance, and then when the song would end, I started swiping the beers, and I would take them and give them to the other macho men, and we would literally just like crack it, chug as much as you could as you're walking down from the stage, put it on a table, and then go to the next song.
the other one, insider trading, is at the that picture moment is when all the sports staff would get cabin numbers for these chicks that
True. Yeah.
that clearly wanted to sleep with them while they were on their cruise
Oh,
vacation.
like the chick that leans in and shouts her cabin number, and you're like, good for that guy. All right.
Yeah, he'll figure that one out. Like
Yeah. Ugh.
because to say that they told us very sternly not to sleep with guests. I never did.
What do you mean? You no, I mean I didn't. I was with Jerra, but
Yeah, but
there was a rule that was if you were caught having sex with guests, you were fired. Now,
now
keyword if you were caught.
caught.
Yeah.
Because there were dudes that slept with everything that moves. Now,
Yeah.
me being an American guy, 5'7", white with a beard, I was not the exotic 5'7" French, or sorry, 6'1" French former
Foreign Legion.
foreign
Like,
legion
yeah.
black guy that had an accent. We
Yeah.
got it.
We
We
were
got
not
it.
the exotic taste. Yeah.
No,
So
we
you heard
we
about
knew.
it, and that's
We
one
heard
of the things
about
where
it
the
from a
rule
lot of
was
people.
you're not allowed to have any relations with the guests, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they only got caught if they slept there because then the housekeepers would see them, or when they're coming back, if security walking down the halls sees you come out of the guest cabin.
Bro,
Pack your bags, chicken or fish, what do you want? And then
I
you're
think
gone.
I think we might as well. I mean, we're here. We could tell. Do you know some fun
Yeah.
spots? I know some fun spots.
I was gonna say I don't. I
Oh,
didn't
I
do
got
anything.
you. Okay, so
Yeah.
a great one was on the Oasis class ships. Is
But this isn't with a guest. This is with
no, this is where they would do it
relation.
with guests. This is
Oh,
where
this is where
everybody did it.
staff would do it with guests.
Yes.
Okay.
So there was no camera on our rock wall. You know that area where the balcony
We'll just
kind of
leave it
comes
at
up
that.
and wraps
Yeah,
around
we'll
a
leave it
little
at
bit.
that.
No, they know.
There,
Royals figured this out at this point. We're not
I was
hiding
gonna say there
anything from
was
anybody.
no camera. There are cameras now.
Yeah, exactly. But you knew that spot, so there was a desk, there was that door, and then those shoes, and then back. But
Yeah.
if you walked out the front and around that little corner where there were like
Yeah.
2 chairs,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
That was
a hidden one.
one of them.
I
Behind
caught
the
a bunch of
aqua
people
stage.
smoking weed there.
Yep.
A lot of guests smoking weed there. You're like, hey man, don't be here.
Just
You walk by and say no smoking on this deck, and you walk away.
bro, the amount of people, because so I used to run on that track all the time. The amount of
course.
people that would walk out onto that track and smoke, and I'm like, bruh, just like the casino's literally right there, man.
Well, that and there was
Literally
the
right
outside
there.
smoking area, like on the other side of the ship,
Yes.
on the
Mhm.
running track. It was an outside smoking place. You're like, man, you're just being lazy at this point. Like you said,
Like,
casino is down one, smoking area is on the
It
other
takes you
side.
3
Like,
minutes to get there.
that's the other thing is, one, if you smoke, cool, but never throw your cigarette butts off a ship. That's
Nope.
actually how fires start. Because what happens is when you throw it, the wind currents coming up the ship will actually either blow it back onto the ship or can actually blow it. Well, they blow it down or up onto the ship. And there was it the navigator? One of
I
them
don't know.
had a guy
But this
flicked a
is-
cigarette, and it fell onto a balcony where someone was drying their swimwear, and it caught fire and lit the entire side of the ship on fire. So if you're gonna smoke on ships, do it in a smoking regulated area. Okay?
Yeah.
Don't be lazy. Like, well, I want to smoke outside. If you are going to, don't chuck it into the ocean. One, we don't need fish with mercury and tobacco and nicotine in their system. And two, just go smoke in all of the designated places. There are a bunch. And if there aren't, I don't got anything for you.
Okay, so back to other areas that they would sleep with.
Oh, yeah.
There was that one locker under the sports deck. That was another very popular one.
Because we had this crew, we had keys to those. Yeah.
Well, you just went and got it out of the locker room. So
Again, you had key access to get places. Yeah.
yeah. What was it? Blown Away? That upper deck
we
by
never-
the scrubbers?
When we got on ships, Blown Away was taken away to put in for the scrubbers. So we
Blown
never.
Away was.
I got onto Oasis and they're like, yeah, there's Blown Away. I was like, I heard about it. I can't go there. And we got on and they go, yeah, they closed it last month. So we never got. So Blown Away was like deck 18 of Oasis class only goes up to 15. It did. And it was up in the smokestacks. It was a crew bar up there. But they took it out when they put in the scrubbers to clean all the air.
Well, it wasn't a crew bar. It had tables and stuff where you could bring your drinks up. It wasn't like it was set up. Think of like front
it was
deck.
like a public area. Okay.
Think of like front deck, but it was only for crew. It just didn't have like a bar built into it, right? It was just kind of an area that you could go hang out.
Area. Okay.
Yeah, which was all relatively quiet because nobody ever went up there because there were no lights.
It was too much effort to get from below deck to all the way up. Yeah.
To get all the way up to deck 18, and then you also had to kind of go through this back little climb up way. It was nobody asked questions when you were.
If you wanted personal time,
if you were up
yeah,
there, we knew you had to be up there. Nobody asked questions. Everybody was like, okay. And then I remember specifically on the Navigator, there was a crew gym up in the front. That was kind of like a secret little gym that was up in the front that people used to bang in all the time.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, the crew gyms on the small ships I went to, they were up front and stuff like that. But again, with the hours that people would keep, especially like casino, by the time you're trying to bring someone back, like
Oh,
I would stumble through there just to be like, yo, I just need to stop at like a water fountain. And there was always people lifting and stuff, and there's guys who are like
dude.
cranking, like instead of headphones, they're cranking a boombox because they're like, sorry, no one's usually here. You're like, yeah, I just need some water. Sorry, bud.
There was a special gym on the Navigator that was like a crew gym, but it was like a secondary crew gym. Nobody went to it. It was like tiny little doors. It was probably the size of your living room in the apartment. It had a spin bike, some mismatched weights, and like a Smith machine. And that's where all the
Wow.
sports staff would go to work out because nobody was there and they wouldn't yell at us for dropping weights above the deck, you know,
Yeah,
because you were above the bridge.
right.
So we would go up there. But that was another good one. Um, so yeah, and then that 70s and sleeping with guests.
Yeah.
Um, and
I
then
think
what
that about
other
like
theme
does it.
nights
Yeah.
were there? I don't think there were. Were there any other theme nights going down?
I mean, maybe, but again, like I said, it's just like those are the ones that you remember. The rest, just if I
Mm-hmm.
don't have memories of them, recollection, it's because it's like you maybe did like a one-off, like something in a karaoke bar or something like that, but nothing ever that you're like amped to get to. But those are one of the amazing things of crew, where like the crew could really bond with the guests on those because we're all partying together, and that's one that we really put energy and fun into. And it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting because it is changing now. Like Jared said, it's getting with the times. Like, yeah, there's '90s night, and they're doing a lot more like pop stuff. But you're like, man, you get on a ship, they're still gonna usually do a '70s
Yeah, but
like
they're also not
extravaganza
letting.
because
I
it
heard they
gets
weren't letting the
everybody
people
into it.
go out into the crowd anymore, man. They don't let them. They don't let them do
It's
what.
I
Oh,
think
that was the beauty
post
of our
COVID, it's
jobs.
been yeah. The post COVID is still like floundering around of people did it, and then I mean you would have crew. So just like back onto the small ships, I remember I was one of the only people that would take like '70s was when I didn't have to wear clothes. Like I told you, it was the construction worker, you're wearing a vest. And it got to a point where I was like, I don't want to wear the vest anymore. I'm not wearing a shirt. As the native, you're definitely not wearing a shirt. As the leatherman, you have like a vest on, but it's like open and stuff. And I remember I
So
got on
when I
some
was the
ships
leather
and I'm
man,
like, yeah,
tossed it off.
yeah.
It did not stay on.
And I was like, I got on some ships and there were people that would be like, they'd wear shirts under the vests, and then like the native wanted to wear like a tank top or something like that, and they made me be the native because I was like, why are you wearing clothes? I'm taking those off. And I think that like those things combined of you couldn't really go into the crowd, and then people didn't really want to self-conscious stuff, you can't force that on people, and so it just became a thing where maybe they don't do it anymore. But we haven't been on a ship that did '70s. I think I don't remember the Wonder doing it, or you know, Jerra was 8 months pregnant or 7 months pregnant, so it's like at that time of the night we're like, no. Like, Jerry, you want to go back out? Like,
I'm
no. Like,
gonna.
well, I'm not going to
I'm gonna
'70s by
go listen
myself.
to the piano bar and go to bed.
Yeah,
Hey, can you play Piano Man again?
yeah,
Sing us.
yeah. Can you just play Interstellar? I'm trying to go to bed. Thanks, man. Like,
Yeah.
so
Do you know Lord of the Rings?
yeah. I just need concerning hobbits just to like totally bring me down.
I was about to say you almost also never ran into those piano players in the crew area ever. You know those
No, they
piano
were
players,
they were ninjas. Yeah. Well, I mean, they
dude.
also work the night thing, so by the time they
Oh
might be
yeah,
finishing, it's like one, and no,
but they
and
also
then
had
they're not.
full guests. They were featured acts too, so they had full
Yeah,
guest
so
acts.
they
They didn't even bother.
yeah they can go drink at the bars. They can do everything. Like, why are they going to go to the crew bar when they have to go to the crew bar at 5 before they go on at 7 and then play till 1, 2. So
hmm But yeah, so that's
alrighty,
about it
man.
for. We're at an hour and 12 minutes on solely theme nights. We're really hoping to include in this episode for you guys all the crew parties that we had, but we didn't even
Well,
touch
that I
we didn't
think the
even touch
last
that.
one that we can't touch on, but we'll tease at is the quest. That's the last one.
That's true. I mean, we can get into the quest. Do you want to get into the quest on this episode?
Not this day, because I think that one will tie easily into
crew parties. Okay.
The parties, and because that's the party episode. So we're gonna leave that for you guys for next time. But until then, guys, we want to thank you for cruising into the void. With you always is your man Nagy.
And I'm Fish, guys. We'll see you on the other side.